Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Friday night, and after a long and tiring week of teaching, I thought it would be fun for us to do a video game review for the video game section of the YouTube channel. As you know, we have recently reached and surpassed 500 subscribers on the channel, so let's keep that 5 theme going and review a game with the number 5 in it. Tonight we are going to be reviewing Virtua Fighter 5 on the Xbox 360, but sadly our Xbox 360's disc spinner does not work anymore, so we have a new addition to the game room, and it has been an ordeal to get this thing, and I'll explain it during the review, but we now have an Xbox One right here. So Xbox One can play most, and I mean most, Xbox 360 games, so I thought it would be a nice way to play my 360 games. So without further ado, let's get down to playing some Virtua Fighter 5, the Final Showdown, which is an Xbox 360 game I can digitally access through the Xbox One. Let's hit the lights, and we'll get down to it. Now, I've got to say that I am not super pleased with Microsoft's customer service. So here's how we ended up with an Xbox One. Long and fun story. Okay, so I unfortunately found that the disk drive on my Xbox One is not working properly. The hard drive's working fine. All my not Xbox One, Xbox 360, I'm sorry, it's very late. The disk drive, whether it's the laser or whatever on the Xbox 360, not reading any of my disk games. All the games that are downloaded into the hard drive are playing just fine. So I went to get a used Xbox 360 at GameStop, which I did for $60, and the fan on it was insanely loud. Like, I couldn't even hear the volume on my TV, it was so loud. So I went to get another Xbox 360 because they said they had 2, and it turns out when I got back, the other one was gone. So I ended up buying an Xbox One for $80 more. It was an old Xbox One with a power brick that made non-stop noise even when the game was off. This console was off. It would just go like all the time. So, 3 to 4 trips to GameStop later, I just ended up getting a new Xbox One. And I have had maybe 1 or 2 issues with this console's functionality, but everything seems to be going well for the most part. And I am able to play the majority of my Xbox 360 games on it. And just trying to get some help on Microsoft's end with this thing was a huge ordeal because it is like moving heaven and earth to try to actually talk to a real representative on Microsoft's automated 1-800 number. So their customer service leaves a lot, and I mean a lot, to be desired. But let's focus on the positive here. I can now play Virtua Fighter 5 once again on the Xbox 360 through the Xbox One. Let's do single player arcade, set this to 1 round, and get down to some goodness here. Now, this is sadly the last Virtua Fighter game that has been released by Sega thus far. And Virtua Fighter has always been known for its cutting-edge graphics, realistic gameplay, and really interesting aesthetic. It's also sadly known for its lack of story in the actual video game itself. But Virtua Fighter actually does have a very interesting backstory to it. You just have to do some digging. But here we can clearly see lots of beautiful facial detail. And the Virtua Fighter games are really well known for having some really fun one-liners at the start of each fight in Japanese and in English. And, I actually really got into Virtua Fighter. Well, I kind of was amazed by it when I saw it in an arcade when I was in elementary school at the bowling alley. But really playing Virtua Fighter 2 with my son on the At Games High-Def Sega Genesis really made me appreciate the depth of Virtua Fighter, because we just started playing that for fun. And I had Virtua Fighter Remix and Virtua Fighter 2 and Fighting Vipers and Fighters Megamix for the Sega Saturn, so I definitely liked Sega AM2 fighting games and Virtua Fighter, but it was really just kind of unintentionally coming across Virtua Fighter 2 on the Sega Genesis, which was not even its primary release, just through like chill time with my son, that the two of us really came to enjoy Virtua Fighter, and I started really getting back into the Virtua Fighter games that I had, one of which was Virtua Fighter 5. So when I started to get back into Virtua Fighter and really kind of appreciate the mechanics and depth of it, I wanted to play Virtua Fighter 5 on my Xbox 360 because I bought the disc for that and had played it a while ago and really enjoyed it when I played it, only to find out that the disc spinner on my Xbox 360 no longer worked. And that put us on this whole odyssey, which has led us to getting a new Xbox One. This is actually the Xbox One S, and I like it, no questions about it. And I figured, you know, the backwards compatibility with the 360 is cool, coupled with the fact that I now have a whole new library of games from the Xbox One to partake in. Made me, decide to get the Xbox One. But I just wanted to get another Xbox 360. I had to go through so much to contact a live person at Microsoft. First of all, they're only open 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You have to call between 1 and 5, and you have to hit 0 a bunch of times to get a real person, and you can't even do the Xbox helpline to get a real person. You actually have to call, in my experience, the Microsoft helpline, and only then was I able to get an actual operator who was, clearly from India, which is not a problem. He was very, very nice. I mean, his accent was pretty heavy. But what I really wanted to know is how to recover my Microsoft account and see if they could do anything about repairing my Xbox 360. And just to get my Microsoft account for my old gamer tag recovered is still not completely done. And they won't repair my Xbox 360. So they told me to basically drive 40 minutes up to Syracuse and try to get it repaired at the Microsoft store. So I'm really not very pleased with Microsoft's customer service. I do like this Xbox One quite a bit. I am happy I ultimately have it, and I'm not happy, though, that it does not play Dead or Alive 4, which makes absolutely no sense, since Dead or Alive was the Xbox fighting game. I understand that has changed since Dead or Alive 5, where they started publishing Dead or Alive 5 through 6 on PlayStation 4 as well. That said, the OG Xbox 360, Dead or Alive 3 and 4, and the Extreme Beach Volleyball games were exclusive to Xbox, and that was the Tekken of Xbox. So to have Dead or Alive 4 not be playable on the Xbox One is kind of infuriating. You know what else isn't playing on the Xbox One is Tekken versus Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So I understand that I'm not talking enough about Virtua Fighter. I'm just going through my Xbox woes here. This game's gameplay is profoundly fluid. Again, nothing flashy. There's no Marvel vs. Capcom style screen explosions, obviously. This is a fighting simulator with very, very beautifully crafted characters, very high texture, on everything from the clothing to the skin to the facial hair. Characters have very bold voices, bold personalities, and unique looks. And the music is also enjoyable to listen to. Again, I mean, it might not be like the soundtrack of Rival Schools, which has an amazing soundtrack, but it is quite good. Very, kind of a hard rock crossed with pop music and some energetic synthesizers thrown in there. Really goes with the polish and energy of this game. And it looks fantastic playing on the Xbox One, and it looked fantastic playing on the Xbox 360. I mean, I really do think the graphics have plateaued from the 360 PS3 generation to the Xbox One PS4 generation. Now, there are definitely games that look amazing on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One that really surpass the hardware of their predecessors. That said, you would be not incorrect to find games on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 that look comparable or the same to some games on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying we're to a point where graphics have, I think, aesthetically and visually plateaued. We are at the final stage, which in fact is the second to last stage, because with Virtua Fighter, the final stage is a bonus stage where you fight Dural, who is a kind of a translucent, or depending on the game, either like a metallic or stone or kind of see-through, bald, naked woman, essentially, which is it's a thing. It's the final boss, and you only get one shot at her. She is at times Kagemaru's mother, at other times a bio android robot made by the Judgment 6, the evil corporation that puts on the Virtua Fighter tournament. Of course, you wouldn't know that unless you actually had to go do some digging into the Virtua Fighter lore, of which there are some great videos on YouTube. I am, in the very near future, going to get the Virtua Fighter Portrait series, which are a series of visual CDs, that have J-pop songs and artwork for the characters on the Sega Saturn. So I'm very interested in picking up some of those. That helps give some of the backstory on some of the characters. The Virtua Fighter anime as well gives some backstory on this game, but the biggest drawback to Virtua Fighter is the lack of story, and I can't stand reviews for fighting games that are like, oh, there's no story in this game, but nobody cares about story in fighting games. That is not true. Fighting games and story, if a fighting game doesn't have a story, it's got no soul. I love fighting games more than any other genre, with the exception of like Sonic the Hedgehog and some really high-quality turn-based role-playing games. But fighting games are my style of fighting video game that I like to just play and chill and master to the best of my abilities. And if it doesn't have a story to it, it totally takes away from the experience of it, because I have no real attachment to the characters. I'm not one of these people that just lives for, tournaments and online play. I'm an only child who just even for that little bit of gameplay action, of story action in between the gameplay action, it really is kind of exciting. I mean, I lived to see the endings on Street Fighter 2, just to see interesting things about the stories, the characters, and just the world. And when a game doesn't have that, it's really a bummer for me, because what the hell am I even in? And that was the end of Virtua Fighter 5, because you only get one shot at Dural, and Dural is very hard. I have beaten Dural. In fact, I've beaten Dural on Virtua Fighter 2 on the Sega Saturn, and that is one Virtua Fighter game that does have an ending to it. If you beat Dural on the, I can't remember if it's the hardest setting or without losing a match, but you do see Dural start to fall apart, like the metallic overcoat on Dural fall apart, and underneath it is a blonde woman, and I believe that is Kagemaru's mother, that version of Dural. Now, my favorite opening to a Virtua Fighter game is the Virtua Fighter 4. It's I don't know if it was called Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. It was the one that had the Virtua Fighter 10th Anniversary Edition on the PlayStation 2. And that game had the most beautiful, cool opening. It was almost kind of reminiscent of Cowboy Bebop in terms of the kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, with that red and black kind of a silhouette negative effect, but with some really cool pop rock music. And they really introduced Brad Burns as a new important character. Very, very cool. This game doesn't have that great of an opening, but again, the character artwork is amazing. The music is great. Lots of polish and flair. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that one of the things about Virtua Fighter: The Final Showdown is that this game, and again, since I'm not a huge fighting tournament freak about things like balance and all these other things, which are important, but I mean, I honestly don't care that much. As long as the game is fun, I can figure out how to play it, the story's engaging, and the aesthetic is beautiful. Here. I love that. It's like my favorite opening in the whole game right there. You know, this game really is supposed to do things like fix balance issues, have some extra frames of animation, and you know, it's something that is supposed to cater to the competitive Virtua Fighter community, which is great. I mean, this is an amazing game. I think my favorite 3D fighting game of this generation is Tekken Tag 2. But that said, I have had tons and tons and tons of fun playing Virtua Fighter 5 when it first came out. And now that I'm more into the series from spending time bonding with my son, I appreciate this game even more, and the variety of fighting styles. And now I am Sarah Bryant, who has some of my favorite lines in the whole game. Better run home to mama now. I assume you're ready. You know, so... Yeah, so there you go. And really, she's, I believe, based a bit on Bruce Lee's widow. But she is also kind of in keeping with that trope of the cool American crossed with the blonde bombshell who happens to be a martial arts master now. You know, her backstory, again, you wouldn't know because you don't really get much or any of it in the game, is that she has been kidnapped and brainwashed by the syndicate that runs the Virtua Fighter tournament to basically kidnap her brother Jackie Bryant, who is this very, very cool race car driver with Super Saiyan hair. And, you know, ultimately Jackie rescues her, and there's kind of a very close bond with them, mixed with a sense of rivalry and competition. So very, very cool. Incidentally, if you have not checked out the Virtua Fighter anime, that is something worth checking out. I have not seen all of it. What I have seen of it, I like a lot, and the soundtrack to that anime is top notch. If you haven't heard Wild Vision, you need to check it out. Great show. Better run home to mama now. I love that. I love the English voices on this game. They're very clear and bold and charming and over the top. Lau's showing his age in this game for sure. Sarah is a much faster player than Akira. And I mean, I like them both very much. Sarah flows much more quickly, very fast lightning strikes. Akira much more methodical. But if you like slower martial arts and can kind of relate to those, he's very good. And again, a part of getting the feel for your character's fighting style is a big part of Virtua Fighter. And again, I mean, you've got like a punch button, a kick button, and a block button, and you just really playing with those in different directions and your timing, you'll start to discover more and more things you can do. And really, there is a whole range of gameplay experiences with this game. I mean, I'm an arcade player. That's what I like to do, is just play the one-player arcade mode against a computer or against a friend. And I have to tell you that, you know, playing this game on easy, it's easy and fun. But you can, you know, wean your way up to it being very difficult. And this game has really got something for everyone. And then there's also a whole dojo training mode and an online mode. So this really does have something for each style of fighting game enthusiast. And, you know, I highly recommend it. I mean, there are fighting games now that come out and they're half done, and you have to pay for the full experience. And another cool thing about this game, and I haven't gotten much into this, is there is, you know, unlockable things you can purchase. Things like clothes for the characters, So, you know, glasses, bikinis, cool gis, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we've decided to, you know, I've decided to do one more go of this game with Sarah just to show you another character. And we've set this on 1 for the difficulty, and we won. And we both, actually, she fell out of Dural fell out first. So we actually won. We beat Dural. And there you go. Ooh! Let's turn the volume up. Let's enjoy this song. Since we beat the game without losing a round. And beat Dural. Man, that those ending credits are worth buying this game just to hear those ending credits. So there you have it, guys. That is Virtua Fighter 5, the Final Showdown, an amazing 3D fighting game that you can access on your Xbox One or your Xbox 360. You can also play it on your PlayStation 3 or play it through the PlayStation streaming service as well. Lots of options, lots of ways to play this game. Do it. You'll enjoy it. Until next time, guys, my name's Noel. You take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.